Hello everyone, welcome back to Football Now YouTube channel where we run you through the latest round of Premier League fixtures, give our own predictions and talk you through the betting odds. As you can tell by the title of this video, we focus on Bournemouth versus Aston Villa, the first of 5 games on Sunday, 2 o'clock kickoff down on the south coast. Connor, before we get into the recent form of these two sides, do you want to talk us through the betting odds?
Yeah.
I've done it.
What?
I thought you were mid-eating. I thought I'd gone straight to you again.
But don't worry, I've mastered the art of mid-eating now. What I've done is I've shoved them in under my tongue, jammed it between the teeth so I can talk quite clearly. I'm an expert at this. I think every time this season Aston Villa have been above evens, I've said to back them. And I'm not going to deviate away from them. They've won 4 of the past 5 games. That loss being to Nottingham Forest. They won last time out against Ange Postecoglou's title-chasing Tottenham in 5th place, below Aston Villa, having lost the past 3 Premier League games, I'm delighted to say. But yeah, this Unai Emery train, this is not just a bit of a purple patch. Ever since Steven Gerrard got sacked, Unai Emery has just absolutely revolutionised Aston Villa. Unai Emery is an elite manager. He's a manager who's won trophies in Europe, who's won domestic leagues. He really is one of the very, very best. Now, Arsenal fans, Premier League fans might be thinking back to his days in Arsenal, but I think those days are long gone now. I think everybody knows what Unai Emery is about, if they weren't already. And they're just fantastic. You know, you can't see. If Aston Villa are going to lose a game, you're thinking it's going to be against one of the big boys. Bournemouth are not one of the big boys. So, yeah, I don't care whether it's away from home. I think Aston Villa are in such good form. Anything over evens there, all over that for me. All over
it. Yeah, absolutely. Bournemouth obviously had a good win, well, a massive win for them last time out away to Sheffield United. They win 3-1. Just sitting on the table there. You know, Bournemouth, I think they're in 16th now.
Yeah,
in and around.
They are doing well. They've won the past 2 games, so fair play to them.
Yeah, they're now 7 points adrift of that bottom 3. Obviously, Sheffield United in 18th place, who they beat, like I said, at the weekend. They've done well at home this season over in recent weeks as well. We've mentioned in the last video that they beat Newcastle, really upset Newcastle there. I don't think many were expecting Bournemouth to get the job done. But yeah, when you look at Villa this season, they've just been incredible to watch, and they are one of 6 or 7 sides, like I said in one of the previous videos, who will be chasing those Champions League places. But right now, I feel like there's always a hesitance to back them fully because they aren't one of the big 6, traditional big 6. But I think if you just take the name and the club out of it and you put look at the 11 players or the 15 or 16 players which play week in, week out, I think Aston Villa are absolutely one of the best 4 sides in the Premier League.
Yeah, don't forget the manager in the dugout as well. Absolutely.
Yeah, so you just look at what they've done this season: 28 points, 13 games. Ollie Watkins firing for them as well. They've got the man who to score the goals. I think you've mentioned a couple of their players are being linked with some of the big sides. You said Douglas Luiz, for example, being linked with Arsenal. But yeah, I think heading into that Tottenham game, we all knew it would be a good game. They were obviously next to each other in the table. I think we both backed a draw, Connor, as well. But they went 1-0 down as well. They didn't lose sight, didn't lose focus of it. They get the late equaliser at the end of the first half. Pau Torres, assisted by Douglas Luiz. And then, of course, Ollie Watkins, with half an hour to go, 60 minutes on the clock, bags the winner against Tottenham, the Tottenham side who were flying. I know they had a few shaky results heading into that Villa game, losing to the likes of Chelsea and Wolves. But to go down there in the way that they did it, very professional job from Villa. I think they will make the top 4 this season. I know they're balancing European football. They're in the Conference League, aren't they? And maybe that could be a factor, but it hasn't looked like one so far. And Unai Emery's the master, isn't he?
Absolutely master.
Exactly.
I was actually, when I was at the darts in the media room, one of the guys was an Aston Villa fan, and was saying, yeah, absolutely, they could make top 4. And he was thinking, well, why not the Premier League? I mean, 13 games played, they're only 2 points off the Premier League. They're only 1 point off Manchester City. 13 games is a good barometer now. So Aston Villa fans are beginning to dream. And I think, it's, like you say, we just lost for words. We can't help but sing their praises. Absolutely fantastic. 31 goals scored as well, which is 4 more than Arsenal, 3 more than Liverpool. I think only Manchester City have scored more goals, and that's only them. That's 2 more goals. So, yeah, it's you can't say enough good things about them. And to be fair, I know we've not talked about Bournemouth too much because of how good Aston Villa are, but they've started to find a bit of form now after a tough start to the season. They've won the past 2 games. One of those against Newcastle as well. We know how well goals are doing. They won away against Sheffield, and that's they're pressure games because they're real 6-pointers. So there's a lot of pressure on that game. There's no free roll about that. So to bounce back from that heavy defeat against Manchester City 6-1, it's it should be a really good game. But again, despite Bournemouth's incredible form, it's like you said, it's hard to look past Aston Villa. They really are establishing themselves as one of the top boys in this season. What is it about Midland sides and outperforming themselves in the Premier League? We all know Leicester City. Not saying that there's going to be an emulation there, but fantastic, aren't they?
It'll be interesting to watch them beyond this game, Villa, as well, because after this they've got Man City at home and Arsenal at home back to back. Obviously, both of those sides are towards the top of the table. The 2 of the 3 sides above them. Both at Villa Park as well. If see how Villa do in those 2 sides, and I think we'll really be looking at them and thinking, well, maybe they can go on and do something special. I'm not saying they're going to go and win the league, but to get in the Champions League this season would be an absolutely remarkable achievement. I think. I don't know about you think, but like you mentioned, since Gerrard got the sack, Emery comes in, got European football this season in the Conference League, but if they can get in that Champions League spots, like Champions League at Villa Park, it's one of the best, in my opinion, one of the best grounds in the country, and it'll be very
European champions as well. They know how to win the Champions League. We're not getting ahead of ourselves, but they've got great pedigree.
It's one of those sides as well, Conor. I don't know if you agree, but you just like to see doing well as well. I've always had something about Villa, just looking at them as a club, like you said, mentioned the history there as well. They're a big club. The Midlands sometimes, like you mentioned, Leicester's achievement, but the Midlands sometimes gets overlooked. And they always have the biggest and the best sides in the Midlands. It's normally either in the Northwest or in London. But if Villa can go and do something big, I think it'll be a great look for the Premier League as well, a real success story. You've mentioned Bournemouth there as well. They've had a few good weeks, and those results are really starting to pull them away from that bottom 3 or bottom 4. So I don't think a loss would be as devastating this weekend as it could have been a couple of weeks ago. Having said all of that, do you want to move on to the predictions? Do you want to go first? Bournemouth versus Villa?
Yeah, well, we've been singing the singing the praises of Aston Villa, so I'm hardly going to go against them now. So I'm going to go with Aston Villa. They've scored 31 goals this season. They're free flowing side, so I'm going to back them to get at least 3. Bournemouth have played well. I think they'll get 1, so I'm going to go 3-1 Bournemouth. But I don't think Bournemouth will be too disheartened by that. Just looking at their next few fixtures, they've got Crystal Palace, then Man United, then Luton, and then Forest and Fulham. So that's not a bad run of fixtures really, as far as the Premier League goes. So yeah, I think whatever this result is, they won't be too disheartened.
Yeah, I agree. I was going to go 3-1 as well, but for the sake of our predictors, you can see.
You're a great minds think alike. I've taken all yours.
It is. I'm going to go for 3-0 Villa then. I'm going to back them to keep the clean sheet. Like you said, I just think they're too good for Bournemouth ultimately. They've got a real momentum. They do play in the Conference League on Thursday, actually. A couple of days before this game, they got Legia Warsaw at Villa Park. I don't expect that to be a factor, however. And like I said, I'm going to go for a 3-0 Villa win. They've been very, very impressive, haven't they? Not just this season, but ever since Emery came in. So we'll back them to do the job. That concludes our preview of Bournemouth versus Villa, 2:00 Sunday afternoon. I think there's a number of games. I think there's 5 games on Sunday. So we'll be previewing all of them and all the Saturday games over on FootballNow. You can check that out on the channel. I'll also put links down below to all our affiliated channels across the whole spectrum of sports. Check out all the content over there, and we will see you in the next video.